with the Super League coming out, me literally wanting to jump off the skywalk, to then it being crushed in a matter of a day, which is a marvellous sign. And then to obviously see Jose leave and Ryan Mason come in, it's just been a roller coaster. And to actually finally get a win under our belts as well after all of that's happened is the business. So starting straight off, obviously we kind of knew there might have been a different kind of lineup of what we've seen in recent weeks. Now, obviously, Dyer still held presence, but I'm going to ignore the Dyer chat for today because there's a win, and I don't want to pry my eyes too much on that. And the first person I want to talk about is the guy that stole the show today, and we haven't seen in a while, and that is Gareth Bale. So, Dara, I'll come to you first. Were you excited to see that Gareth Bale was in the squad today?
Absolutely, and it's high time he's been part of that starting 11. To be honest, when you have a player like Gareth Bale in your Arsenal, to excuse that language, of course, on this Spurs show, but like when you have him in your ranks, I mean, you have to use that player. You know, I mean, it was ridiculous that Jose had this aura about him that we're of just casting players aside. When you have a player of Bale's talent in your squad, I mean, you got to be using them. Even if it meant bringing him on sooner than he used to. Bringing him on the 82nd minute, 85th minute was an absolute slap in the face. So seeing him start from the off tonight, especially with Kane out, was definitely encouraging. And I think he's booked his place in that starting 11 for the final for me.
Same here. I'm not going to say no, especially the fact that he's actually lasted over, well, what was it? He came on from was it the 80th minute or just before the 80th minute? So that's a lot of minutes under his belt, a lot more we've seen in recent times. And obviously, Finley, I want to get your kind of take on it. Obviously, we'll lead to the goal later on in the show, but seeing his names on that team sheet, it must have brought good vibes.
Oh, 100%. It fills you with confidence, doesn't it? And it's like, like you've just said, mate, that you want your best players to play every game of football. You don't want, a player like Gareth Bale. You don't want him coming on in the 82nd minute of a game where he's got no time to do anything. He arguably saved Jose's job for a few more months with his performances against Burnley and Palace to then have one bad game and then be put back in the doghouse again with the 574 other players that happen to be in there. So I think for me, when I saw the team, I was quite optimistic when I saw the team, and then when you read down the list and see Bale, and you're like, okay, right, he's basically just gone best case scenario. This is the best team I can put out at the minute. Obviously with Kane's injury, and yeah, it obviously worked in the end.
In the second half, we saw that we actually did manage to get the equalise, and that's from that main man once again, which is Gareth Bale. It kind of was from a very tight angle as well. The way he managed to whip it in to that top corner. So Dara, I'll come to you. What do you make on that class finish from Gareth Bale?
Oh, sure, he is world class. And you know what? The minute the ball, world class player, as soon as they trap that ball, they're scoring. Kane does the same thing. When he traps that ball, he's about to strike it. It's going to the back of the net. Same with Bale there. I was fully confident he was pinging that ball in the far corner. Outstanding finish. And it was from a tight angle, like you say, but he curled it to perfection. And it looked like it was easy. He made it look easy, but that was a really difficult finish, especially with there was two men to the front post, and I think it was Kyle Walker-Peters actually, coming into the back post. He had to curl that to perfection, and he did. It was an absolutely sublime finish. The build-up was excellent as well. Lo Celso out to Reguilon. Reguilon put a dangerous ball back in. That was fantastic goal from start to finish. And as you say as well, Hollie, the fight tonight was outstanding. What I noticed a lot tonight was we were giving away a lot of niggly fouls, which usually annoy me, but that was the theme throughout the game. It was kind of sliding in for every ball, trying to challenge for every ball. And a lot of what we missed out on in the first half, I suppose, was the fact that we were losing out that second ball, the breaking ball. We just weren't there. Positioning was a bit off. And you put that down to a lack of focal point, I think, and trying to operate a new system. Of course, they've only had a day to work with Mason, in fairness. And he said himself in the interviews that he's going to try and up the intensity and the aggression and build from the back. All the things we're used to characterising Spurs with. So with that in mind, I think we played as well as we probably could have. Trying to get out of that Jose negative mentality and that poisonous atmosphere around the club. It'll take a while to get over that, especially with the bad press we've received this week. I thought we handled it really expertly well tonight, and yeah, full respect to them all.
Yeah, 100%, and I kind of echo that as well, because obviously, like you said, the first half wasn't brilliant, but the fact they dug in second half to actually turn it around, whereas normally we've seen performance like this and we're just coasting the whole game, not really caring. Whereas tonight, I think the ethos of Ryan Mason saying you've got to go out there and play with that shirt with pride, I think really showed tonight. Coming away from that slightly, obviously, trying to think now, lost my train of thought. with the Bale, obviously the goal was excellent, but again, there was numerous times throughout the whole game, Finley, that Bale was creating things, and I think we've missed that quite a lot this season, if that's so to speak. So with him coming in, obviously there was a few chances that went a bit amiss. There was obviously a ball into the box, which then Lucas went to header, but then Sonny could have obviously struck it. But obviously then Bale was offside anyway. But getting into those positions is something you haven't really seen. So Finley, coming off of that, do you think we need to obviously see Bale more in the future towards the end of the season, make the most of him?
No, 100%. I mean, as far as we know, we've only got him for another, we've only got him for another 6 matches before he goes back to Madrid. So, the way he played tonight, he was always on the shoulder of the left back. I think it was Salisu or Vestergaard. He was always on the shoulder of, always looking to make that run in behind. The defenders obviously know what he's going to do. He's going to try and use the outside of his left boot or his left boot as much as possible. But he has that world-class quality that we've already spoken about to do it. And obviously, as we said with the goal, reminded me actually the goal of the one he scored against Burnley, where he cut in and whipped it into pretty much the same spot, really, into that far corner. But I think it will help when obviously Kane is back fit, because we've seen what them two can do when they're firing together. And now obviously Sonny is back in the goals tonight. And I just think we have to make sure we use Bale as much as we can to the fullest the fullest of his world-class ability, as much as we can between now and the end of the season, because he can be so important for us in what would be an unlikely push for a top four and obviously the cup final on Sunday.